Before we dive into EURUSD, NZDUSD has sold off in towards the downside exactly from the free monthly and monthly open level all the way back down towards a new lower low within its overall impulsive phase. I've received a lot of messages from you guys who shorted NZDUSD with me, so congratulations and extremely grateful to hear that. Now, without further ado, good morning. My name is Fabio, and we're going to be diving into the major dollar pairs today, including gold. So, EURUSD, first of all, is stalling here at the overall liquidity low. As we can see, this is kind of like the last major low within the overall swing structure. So, the swing structure here on EURUSD is from this low that we have over here all the way back up in towards this high. Now, the market has retraced back down in towards discounted pricing, which is below the 0.5 fib. And together with that, it has now retraced into the final NBOS liquidity low. So from this liquidity low and from discount pricing, if you view this as the overall impulse up, the overall pullback phase could now well be over, as we've now taken out major liquidity. And from these kind of regions, you will often see that the market is ready to continue pushing up higher. Now, the thing that I need to understand here, or that you guys need to understand with me, is that although we are inside discount levels and we have also reached a major liquidity low, the overall order flow remains extremely bearish, because if we look here, we can see clear area of supply. Here again, we have a clear area of supply, and once again here we now have a clear area of supply as well in the form of a buy before the sell. So what could just very well happen is that we retrace and then we just sell off further in towards the downside. So the only longs that I'll be looking for myself is once order flow shifts. So when does order flow shift? Well, if we push up higher, we break this overall high here, we break the free monthly level, then we retest that, and then we could look for a long position. Otherwise, until then, I'm only going to be looking for further shorts in towards the downside, furthermore following what the dollar index is telling me until now, and that is that the dollar index is extremely bullish. Okay, so that's your USD for you. Now, looking very quickly as well and zooming out at what the higher time frame shows us, we need to remember that here on the daily time frame, and I was going to look at it on the weekly, but the daily also shows it very clearly, is that we've had ascending structure, guys, and this is a very clear reversal pattern. Okay, what I need you to understand is that the market has broken out in towards the downside outside of this ascending wedge. So what you will often see with these ascending wedges is that the market forms a one high, a second high, and then it will fake out on that second high, or it will make the third trendline touch, and then the market will sell off all the way back down towards the very first low, which we have positioned over here at around 1.10 on EURUSD. So keep in mind that we could still very well see further downside pricing, but for the downside pricing, I would like to see a smaller pullback, and then, for example, look for further shorts there on EURUSD. And again, the only long that I see is if we break above this overall high here, break above the previous 3 month level with conviction, then retest, and then we'll look to trade the further impulsing towards the highs. Because at the moment, we've had the overall impulsive phase here in towards the upside. After that impulsive phase, we have been in a very, very beautiful correction, which we have been trading for quite some time. So now the market has again potential, after taking out major liquidity here, to continue with the next impulsive phase in towards the upside. But when does the next impulsive phase start? It starts once you get what? Once you get a major liquidity low, and once you see a very clear change of character or change in market structure, and then you could look for an upside move, because otherwise, until then, just focus on further downside. So let's keep an eye on EURUSD there. Going into the dollar index, the reason that I'm looking for those EURUSD shorts has obviously also been the dollar index. Now, the dollar index, guys, has reached the psychological level of 100 and has been rejecting it. That is this black line over here. I put it exactly on the 100, and as you can see on the 4-hour time frame, price has now been stalling there. Now, the market is in an overextended phase on the dollar index, in the sense that we've seen a very, very strong push. I'm still bullish on the dollar, as the central bank of the United States, so the Fed, is still extremely hawkish from what I've been reading. I'll be updating you guys inside Discord on some fundamentals today on the dollar, but overall what I can see here is that we've had our impulsive phase. So what do I mean with we've had our impulsive phase? Well, I mean that we are trading off the break of structure line, which for me is the so-called orange zone. So when I look at the overall orange zone, what I can see here is that in the past we've broken market structure, or let's say we get above the overall break of structure line. That is when the orange phase starts. Here again, we get on above the break of structure line, and that's where the orange phase starts. Now, when you in the orange phase, you don't really want to be taking any new positions. You just want to be in existing positions. So if you're currently like in, for example, NZDUSD, which sold off in towards downside, then that was a good hold. But for example, with the dollar index now being in the orange zone, I'm not looking to get into any new positions, because what I'm now waiting for is for liquidity to get taken. So for example, here, bump in the road, or here, bump in the road, or even this bump in the road here, I'm looking for those lows to get swiped, and then for example tap into this demand zone, and then for example from there look for further upside again in towards the highs. Now, yeah, that's what I have for the dollar index. It still remains very, very bullish. Looking here, again, very clear reversal pattern with the one low, the second low, and then the fake out on the second low. We're breaking out of this kind of like descending channel, and I'm looking still for the top of that overall channel here. Ultimately 102 pretty much to get hit. Looking at the weekly time frame, let me just go to a clean chart as well. Looking at the weekly time frame, I am still favoring the further upside. I shared this chart on the monthly with you guys as well quite some time ago, but look at this, man. We are perfectly tapping the 1, the 2, the 3rd. So I'm looking for that next upside push after liquidating the low of what was here, area of consolidation. So I'm bullish on the dollar, guys, both technically and fundamentally. So I'm looking for that further upside, and let's see if we can justify any further longs here on the dollar index. And again, a retracement in towards this weekly demand zone would be perfectly fine, just to fuel the next leg up. So let's see if we get that, and that's what I'm looking for on the dollar. And now how can we then use that to our advantage again? Well, obviously GBPUSD looking for potential for the downside again. Looking here at the daily, it's still pushing down lower. It's still very, very bearish. GU is kind of like in an area where you don't really want to be getting into any new positions. Reason being is because you're at major liquidity lows, so this should still provide us with a pullback or not. Again, you can just continue pushing down lower and lower. Also perfectly normal. I've seen that many times. However, it is kind of like 50-50. When you get at these liquidity lows and you've had the overall overextended move, then you just want to see a pullback back up into supply or back into some liquidity highs, and then look for some further shorts again. And if we look at where we're currently trading at, we've had the impulsive phase here in towards the downside. After that, we got the overall pullback phase, and then here we had the impulsive phase in towards where? In towards the break of structure line here. Now, again, we're currently in the orange zone, so at any point in time could a pullback occur. We don't know yet when, but I'll be looking for further short positions once we see a nice retracement and take out some liquidity, and then look for the overall continuation. So at the moment, just not really seeing anything there on GBPUSD. The shorts played out, which we've been calling for a very long time, and now I'm just relaxing and sitting back and waiting for it to play out. AUDUSD is inside demand, so we're currently inside of this previous area of consolidation, which is demand. Again, AUDUSD is the more bullish one of them all, so if you're looking for a pullback on the dollar, this could be the best expression for a long. Here we have the swing low, here we have the swing high, here we had the last internal liquidity low. We swept that, now we formed demand here, so from there you could look for potential for the upside, though I think for me it's very risky, as I am bullish on the dollar technically, so it doesn't really make sense for me to long it. For the rest, I also see a lot of equal lows here as well. So not really my favorite setup, if I'm very honest. But if you do want to trade AUDUSD and you do see that for the downside on the dollar, then you could look at this demand zone and say, hey, Fab, I'm waiting, for example, for this market structure shift, and then look for a long back up in towards the highs, for example. But until then, the kind of like internal market structure remains bearish, with this supply zone in control, this supply zone in control, this supply zone in control. So it doesn't make sense to look for longs until the overall supply becomes demand, and then you can look for longs again. So that's what I have for AUDUSD. For the rest, not really looking at shorts. NZDUSD, man, guys, this trade was so fantastic. There's not a lot that I can say about it other than it was fantastic. We had bearish market structure. I've been calling this again for such a long time. I'm going to explain it in the live session today as well. Link to that live session can be found in the description of this video, or in the comment section, excuse me. So we had the overall impulsive phase in towards the downside here. Then we had the overall pullback phase exactly in towards the 3 monthly open and into internal liquidity high. And then we saw the change of character with the news last week. And then from there, the impulsive phase started in towards where? In towards the breaker structure line, which should then be your TP. A beautiful short position that I took together with you guys. And again, if you place your stop loss here, target the low. Beautiful 1 to 2.8 risk to reward. So yeah, fantastic trade overall. Now, obviously, I'm still expecting for the downside for NZDUSD towards the overall yearly open. We're still within the impulsive phase, but just keep in mind we're now at the breaker structure line. This could facilitate a pullback, or we just see a little bit of a more push, and then, for example, pullback, and on the pullback, that's when we get into new potential shorts. So that's NZDUSD for you. And then, of course, we have USDCHF has continued to push up higher. Not a pair of interest at the moment for myself. Yeah, not clear at all for myself. Here we had the breaker structure down. That means that we have a swing high here, swing low here. So that means that you're overall bearish, and that this would be the impulsive phase, and we're now in the overall pullback phase. We attempted to short here, but that failed. Gave a little push down, but not really anything, and now it's just pushing up again. So now the internal market structure shifted bullish. So you have conflicting time frames and conflicting biases. We have the internal structure bullish, the external structure bearish. It's not a pair that I'm looking to trade. USDJPY, on the other hand, I am looking to trade. This still needs to push up higher towards major liquidity highs. On the daily, we are bullish. On the 4-hour time frame, we're bullish as well. So what I'm looking for on USDJPY is, again, here we had the breaker structure up, here we had another breaker structure up. What's now happened is that we engineered some internal liquidity here in the orange zone. Here, ascending lows, we've taken out this liquidity low over here. So this could now cause the next potential push up, though I must say kind of like the preferable long that you want to be taking is from this low, or from these lows over here, which lines beautifully with what? Well, with the overall 0.5 Fibonacci retracement / discount. So I'm more just waiting for that low there to get hit. That's what I want to go long from, though I must not deny that, yes, it could already head up higher from here. Do keep that in mind. But the preferable long is obviously from here. Keeping in mind where the dollar index is trading at the moment, this is obviously not the best well-priced long, but if you are a very aggressive trader who likes taking setups, then you could obviously monitor the 15-minute time frame and say, hey, Fab, maybe we can look for kind of like an overall next upside push, because of the fact that this looks, in a way, like an area of consolidation where we have rated the overall range high, and now we've rated the overall range low, and now you could see potential further drive up. Do keep that in mind, though it's not a step that I'm really willing to take myself, as I would love to look for longs from lower prices. And then we have USDCAD. USDCAD, what can I say, been playing out beautifully. And if we see any reaccumulation, and what I mean with reaccumulation is, for example, a retracement taking out bumps in the road, that could mean a new potential long back in towards the highs. My favorite long would be from the monthly and weekly open over here. So if it does retrace, then look for longs from there on the change of character. That's the setup that I'm waiting for. And then, of course, gold. I'm looking for longs on gold, guys, but it's consolidating, moving sideways and stuck. So it's not really a pair that I'm trading at the moment, though I would like to see a breakout and then look for some more longs towards the highs. But yeah, it doesn't really make sense to look at the lower time frame because we're just moving sideways. So waiting for that breakout and then for more longs. So yeah, guys, thanks again for tuning in. I'm still a little bit sick, but thanks for watching and wish you all a fantastic trading day. Thanks, guys.